Welcome back everyone to our latest week here of Quake Pro League. We are gearing up for our next matchup, Maxter versus cha1n. So, what is there to say about these two that we haven't said 10 million times over? You know, we're going into a fresh new weekly here. We can expect a really good match. Maxter is always in tip-top shape. And really outside of that, I'm just looking forward to watching some good Quake, Dan.
I mean, aren't we all? Yeah, this is going to be good. cha1n has started better than he did last season for sure, and obviously Maxter's coming off of that 0-3 loss last week, but it was against Wenger, and I think pretty much every map was a one frag differential. So Maxter definitely has a bit of a point to prove, and this is a stage I'm expecting Maxter to step it up. He's come so close now. He's one of these players that he's just come so far. But can he actually then bring that form into being top 3 / winning a championship? This is the question actually lying over him, which is an amazing spot to be. Whereas cha1n is somebody that just needs to prove himself more on the online stage. He always seems to find a way to grind it out in the finals, but I feel he needs to build a bit of momentum during the stage leading up to that.
Well, what a better time than now to really put that into practice, because as we said before, you know, we were talking about Strong Sage. There's so many more weeks of competition left to go that really, if there's anything that needs to get ironed out or made more comfortable for a player, this is the time to do it. You know, try and start off strong if you can. If not, work on what you need to do for when the chips are down and it's time to play for realsies. On the side of Maxter, though, he's always been that kind of player that doesn't really seem to need as much prep time, I guess, quote unquote. He's just always ready for a match, and he always gives it that 110%. And he always just looks incredibly scary too. And he just seems to sort of get better and better. I know he saw his fair share of success last year, and kind of went into this year looking strong as well. I know, yeah, like we said, didn't have the most amazing result versus Wenger last week, but with those maps being as close as they were, it's a 3-0 on paper, but it didn't really look like it. It really didn't look like it with each of those maps. Now, we'll have a look at those picks and bans while we get ready. And really, as soon as we're ready, obviously, we'll jump into our first map. But I think in the meantime, let's have a chat. Deep Embrace, Awoken, and then the Blood Covenant. Nothing really standing out here. Some real personal respect bans. Particularly, I think taking Athena away from cha1n is a very good idea. But then also taking the visor away. You know, there's an element of it is that maybe because with Blood Covenant being that final map, maybe that was something to do, or just something that Max has been using a lot lately. I'm not too sure. You don't really often see visor get banned these days.
No, it's slightly interesting. I mean, Maxter has played it a fair amount, but not, I would say it's ban-worthy material. All it does is really open up the pool a little bit more. So yeah, starting out on Deep Embrace, as we know, Maxter absolutely loves that map. He can play that heavy positional, heavy rail game. Slash is definitely interesting. It's coming into the meta a little bit more on that map, actually. So it'd be good to see how Maxter wants to play that. The Ranger is obviously a pretty standard pick on Deep Embrace. Awoken, we have a bit more of an unorthodox pick across the board. I mean, Anarchy and Nyx are good on pretty much any map. We just don't often see them on Awoken, particularly when there is Blood Covenant coming up as well. And then when we do get to Blood Covenant, the Doom is a good standard pick there. I don't think it offers anywhere near as much as it used to. If you're going to play it exceptionally well and play around that rail, it still holds a lot of good utility, but it's not as amazing as it used to be. But it is kind of a last pick on the third map. And then the Strong, again, it's got good utility on pretty much any map, so you can see why it's been picked. But similar as we discussed in the Rafa matchup, it's quite difficult to control that mid-ground as much as you want to. And that's why cha1n will try and dominate himself. So we'll see what happens. In my opinion, though, I think cha1n will probably struggle in this particular matchup. I think the picks he's taken are decent, but it's more of a tempo control and just play style matchup in that Maxter will also play that positional rail heavy game. And for me, execution wise, he's just a little bit above where cha1n has been. So that's where I believe that cha1n will struggle.
I think at the exact sort of same line of conversation, Maxter has quite intelligently removed avenues where cha1n would have aggressive opportunities and ability to play fast. they've kind of been taken away by taking out the Athena, and then Maxter has gone out of his way to pick the fast champions to remove them from cha1n as well. You know, I know they don't have completely identical styles as two players, but Maxter has essentially taken the football home and said, I'm not playing anymore because I have all of it and you have none of it. So you have no choice but to try and pick around the fact that I have a lot of creative possibility with my rapid fire champions, and you now have to kind of pick around that, you know?
It's also done the same by taking out Veil. We know that Maxter loves that map, and yet it's cha1n's home ground. So to see that also be taken out, as you rightly said, it's just good strategy in the picking phase from Maxter. And I don't think that cha1n's been outpicked, but definitely not playing to his strengths either.
Well, both of our players have readied up. Opportunity now to maybe talk about some predictions. I'm sure chat's always sort of talking about which player they think is going to have that upper hand, you know, and that's what it's all about. That's what we love to see. But I feel like we're both kind of in agreement that Maxter's the favourite here. I'd like to see a 2-1. cha1n does have that ability to upset the flow of things, I suppose. Like, he's often able to prevent a 3-0. But at the same time, when cha1n wins, I always remember cha1n a long time ago being almost frustrated that there weren't enough 3-0s for cha1n. There'd be like a 2-1s, and it's like, damn, that's not enough. That's not enough. You know, some players, when they strive for perfection, they don't want to lose a single map. So we'll see.
cha1n for me is one of these players that struggles to impose himself in games. As you said, he's very good at establishing himself and almost creating equilibrium where there shouldn't be, but I never really feel like I've seen cha1n put pressure on and take games away from opponents as other players do. So that's where he struggles and can just give away maps, because he leaves his opponents too much room in the game to keep in it. So a lot of the scorelines end up being close, and then if his shots don't connect, which is where he can fall down mechanically, that's where the opponents can just take the lead away from him. And so let's see. If Maxter hits as hard as he could do, I really do feel this will be a 3-0 to Maxter.
Ooh. Having that shotgun skin, you know, making me feel as old as I definitely am, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that one. It is Quake. But as we jump into this first map, cha1n,
there we go,
trying to push, but Rails had other plans, and now fair did spawn near LG, so that's going to give cha1n a sort of fighting chance here, as now Maxter does have to be very careful. An aggressive push by cha1n, and actually a bit of a sort of sloppy start there from Maxter.
Almost overconfidence after such a clean start, yeah. Giving away the map now, but not connecting. Maxter skirting his way across. Wow. Fair amount of damage coming out. He's just not afraid to go in aggressively with this slash. And we said at the start, how would the slash be played? Well, the answer is aggressively.
Maxter has historically been a rather explosive player. You know, it might not be constant aggression, but it's just having that sixth sense for when the time is to erupt. And when you have this kind of playstyle, you know, Maxter, he'll be careful, he will be slow if he needs to, but the moment he senses that weakness, he's in instantly. Frame one, no hesitation.
And I think Maxter probably is the best in the world at just playing these angle rails. He's so difficult to dislodge, and that's where the Ranger comes in handy. With that orb, he can close the gap. But if he's going to leave himself vulnerable, horse shotgun coming out, even though it's the right decision, that's where it becomes quite difficult.
Scary situation there for Maxter, having to get a couple of extra shotgun blasts that he definitely didn't want. Oh, that was nearly a self-destruct as well. Oh, Maxter. Things have gone so well, yet so bad in only 2 minutes. It's a confusing map so far.
Oh, wait, is he going to get a goal? No, he steals the one away as well. cha1n trying to finish off his opponent, not able to. Maxter living on the edge. cha1n a little bit sloppy there to give that away. He's quite early, but the spam coming out is defending that nicely. Desperately wants to get this rail, and Maxter knows it. He's trying to do any sort of damage. Thought that was going to be a bait. That's very greedy by cha1n, even though he is healthy.
Oh!
Does get the frag eventually. Messy from both sides.
Weird to see him just teleport straight out in the open like that, but it did put him in position to get that rail shot, so, you know, certainly can't complain. And now Maxter. This has been, for lack of a better term, a weird map so far.
Yeah, just messy. Nobody's able to impose himself. Nobody connecting with any significant damage or back-to-back rails so far. Because of that, it's been this back and forth duel where cha1n's able to close the gap, get a frag, but then the follow-up, because it isn't clean, comes from the speed of the slash. Now Maxter is pretty much the first one to establish himself with any significant amount of damage. Here we might see that pressure begin to mount.
Now at least the item control. We're going to kind of trade one item for one item in this instance. cha1n, combination of orb for aggression and repositioning. It means that cha1n often doesn't have it available for those close range encounters, right? And that's when Maxter, almost got ring out. Not that it matters, because he dies anyway.
It is still pretty cagey though. Nice play by cha1n to get back into the set. He's also quite happy to control this and slow the tempo down a little bit. Obviously very wary of the pressure that Slash can put on with the speed, even though she doesn't have that max stack. If he gets caught off guard, it will inevitably be messy. cha1n is trying to put a bit of a structure on this duel at the moment.
His angles have been fantastic. You know, watching this through Max's point of view, he has struggled to even find an angle for the last 30 seconds. Anytime there would have been a shot in theory, cha1n's long gone. And he's just playing his corners real carefully. I mean, that is an element you're going to have on a deep embrace. It's a small map. Slash, she does make a fair bit of noise as she moves around. So if cha1n is just playing careful and sticking his ear to the ground, he can play a much more calculated approach. However...
Oh wow, desperate there, had to use the orb just to get some health. Going toe-to-toe with Maxter here, he's available himself, needs to be careful.
Maxter must have deemed it a worthy risk to take at the time, as giving up heavy might have been too high a cost. However, not his choice to make anymore, as cha1n's going to be the one to take it off the back of that impressive frag. Maxter, no armor, and being a light, that is going to be scary stuff. cha1n looking for the golden opportunity. We are even Stevens now. 5-minute warning, 5 frags apiece. But it is in the balance, isn't it?
You can see how desperately cha1n is just to try and gauge where his opponent is, controlling this high ground, using his audio cues. He doesn't want to engage in any open fights. He wants to try and do that chip damage. It's causing Maxter a bit of a problem to break through this mid ground.
Maxter does have cha1n. A little bit of damage being dished out there, but cha1n having that orb! Oh, no.
Oh, this is where the slash becomes real scary. A big bit of fortune from Maxter's POV. Back-to-back frags. Will it be a third? Not to be, but enough damage to win himself a clean round of items. cha1n will go in, stealing away this Mega for now, but gets railed doing so. And that could have been a lot worse than it was, but already a massive breakthrough from Maxter's perspective. The pressure continues to mount.
And with no orb, no escape. cha1n, I think there was definitely an element of just accepting his fate there. He was waiting around the corner with a shotgun, because I'm like, if I'm going to go down, I kind of have to do as much damage as I possibly can. This aggressive push does actually work out, and doesn't even have to take any damage to the plasma trail either. So cha1n, that was, as we said, right, it's explosive, it's opportunistic, but there's time, and that's time that cha1n's going to use to maybe bring himself back into this one. Gets a good read on where Maxter's going to jump down.
What cha1n is doing so well is just maintaining his defensive and slow positioning. I mean, Maxter's done twice as much damage as cha1n so far, but the scoreline is basically even, so all credit for cha1n for staying in this game. He's not able himself to ramp up enough damage to keep that pressure onto Maxter and try and steal away. No, he actually doubles back. Fake Ore comes out to buy him some breathing room, but because Maxter does take that away after taking the rail, he's pretty healthy himself, and he's also got the high ground. Oh, lovely defensive rail.
I was about to say, you know, was that buying time or delaying the inevitable? But to be honest, opening of that rail did give cha1n something. Oh God! The rail's coming out again. cha1n dedicating until the end, but that was very much a borrowed time. The moment he was on what felt like just 10 HP, That was got to magically hit every single shot to get something, and cha1n getting bounced around like a pinball right now. Push begins. Maxter has to retreat, but that defensive rail is unbelievable to keep him in the fight.
Still messy from both sides. Neither one of these players has ever really had any sort of significant stack or control in this game. So credit to both of them really for playing the defensive game so well. But also quite sloppy on the offense. All of these frags have been messy. The difference has been the way in which Max is able to pressure the spawn and use the speed, the slash, or the follow-up as well. cha1n's not been able to string anything together.
However, I do like the way that cha1n is approaching this.
Huge.
Really important damage, but just due to geometry alone, wasn't able to make the push. However, importantly, we collect that heavy and then start to mount some kind of comeback. It doesn't hit the rail. Yeah, we hit it. No! Oh! Hello!
Okay, there's the comeback. Back-to-back rail as well. Pressure's on.
That pillar saved his skin.
Still time in this catch-up. 45 seconds to go. 2 frags. You can quite easily come back in this particular map. cha1n more than happy to wait out for this heavy though. He wants all the resources he can to make this push. He hasn't got the orb. It has to be old school for now, but it is up in 10. Oh, he caught him. Good read from below, but Maxter flies by. Huge rocket to rail combo! And that will shut down any semblance of a comeback on this map. No shenanigans today. 15 seconds to go. Fortunately, it's so close but so far, which is just part of the story of cha1n's time in the QPL.
If it was just a little bit more consistent, who knows? But I think the same could be said about Maxter on that map, as strange as it is to say, but it does kind of beg the question of how these other 2 maps are going to go down, because that was impossible to call. And actually, they couldn't be more evenly split on items either. 9 heavies each, 15 light armors versus 16 of Maxter's light armors, and then 8 mega healths for Maxter, cha1n 9. Like that's as split down the middle as it gets. The deciding factor though, well, not necessarily deciding factor, a clear difference was the damage output. That was a very, very different story, as Maxter definitely had the ace in that one.
It was a good, but I guess the word that used in this duel, it was just almost awkward at times.
It was weird. It was weird and hard to pinpoint what made it weird.
Yeah.
But it was weird.
What I found really, really cool to watch effectively was just the way in which they used both of their champions pretty much to the utmost. The amount of orbs that cha1n used to kill, get the frag, get out of dodge, as well as the passive rocket jumping from time to time, as well as the way in which Maxter, as you can see right here, using the speed to close the gap, get that follow-up, keep the pressure on. It was really well played by both, which is why it ended up being a little bit awkward. Yes, neither one was particularly clinical, but they were both playing pretty much as good as they could have under the circumstances. So it was, as you said, very, very even, but the deciding factor, you can see right there, the rail. Maxter basically doubling the output in terms of damage, and that was just clinical, and the angles, once again, cha1n just unable to keep up with the tempo that Maxter was setting, but he always finds a way to keep the scoreline incredibly close, just not enough to take it away from his opponent.
There's something about cha1n's playstyle that has always come across as just disruptive. The style of which he plays, where he can play defensively, and he can play that slow game, and those champions can often reflect that. And we're now going into our next map, which is going to be Awoken Nyx versus Anarchy. So Maxter, you kind of know what you're in for here if you're going up against Maxter with this kind of champion. But cha1n was able to already display strong enough fortitude in his own game plan to just slow things down and not fall victim to the pace and the speed that Slash often forces you to play. And the orb and the orb placement, something of which cha1n's always been phenomenal with, is orb placement, ever since I very first saw him play. The Nyx, although is not going to have the damage, is still going to have that disruption factor, because it is going to make fights uncomfortable. You are going to be able to escape. It is going to force the opponent to maybe second guess a few things. And that's just kind of cha1n's playstyle in a nutshell, I feel, especially this season. And you got to be bold to play like that, right? And it's not the way everyone plays. So I think it can be quite a powerful strategy, but risky off the back of Nyx, especially on a map like this. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it is risky, and Nyx can sometimes be quite execution heavy. You have to hit your shots if you're going to take those aggressive positions because of how vulnerable you are as a champion, and so reliant on the Ghost Walk that if it's not up, you have to keep connecting. Otherwise, your opponent will just inevitably close the gap and end your life. So it is a game of two halves with Nick. It's either magical or just can fall flat. So let's see. It's a difficult map to play Nyx on Awoken. You have to maintain that control, maintain that mid ground, and almost be willing to forfeit one of the items as well, just because of how combat heavy it can be.
That is a fantastic start for cha1n, though. Armor in play, already able to get the rail side, and then just open up with a last-minute rail right as Maxter goes towards rail rim himself. Now that is a missed shot. cha1n has to be very careful. Yeah, that missed rail, hugging the wall like nobody's business, especially when you're that vulnerable. And the rail duel begins now. Maxter's rail in that last map was very prominent. Is that going to continue here? cha1n able to at least stop the bleeding with mega health. However, now Maxter, injection forced, and then heavy in play too has just made Maxter one healthy anarchy. And cha1n kind of just going back to the style that we're so familiar with at this point. Listening, information is key. It's the #1 asset for the way cha1n plays.
And it's so crucial for the Nyx as well, because you have to do exactly what he's doing now, which is just pick your opponent apart. You can't go toe-to-toe, try and play this combat-heavy style unless you get the momentum and the stack in your corner. You have to play calculated, you have to play a little bit slower. That's exactly what Nyx wants to do. So, good start by cha1n, but he's forced to pop the Ghost Walk as he falls down onto that. Maxter knows where he is, goes on aggressive, popping that inject as well, just for the security. Makes himself a nice early lead. The items are pretty much in the same spot though, so cha1n will be around to do some sort of damage, but Maxter actually goes out to try and steal away this heavy. Oh wow, that's a lot of damage.
Okay, cha1n kind of getting the best case he could out of that situation. Maxter did a little bit of damage, but an unreturned rail as Maxter is forced away there. Going to double back onto a heavy, which is, you know, certainly a good situation regardless. However, cha1n keeping himself careful and healthy. There's only one frag dividing these two players so far. The Ghost Walk locked and loaded. Thankfully, cha1n wasn't hit by that rocket as well. That would have been key information. Oh no.
cha1n is luckily hitting these exit rails, which is just halting the final aggression coming out from Maxter. Any of those misses and it's going to be a different story, but he knows exactly what's up. Once again, popping up the Ghost Walk. He'll double back for a third time. Trying to etch out his opponent's position, but Nyx does get to reposition up on that high ground, halting that aggression, but a lovely pixel rail through the doorway, and that will be all she wrote.
This is an element of...
Oh, Ghost Walk.
I mean, it's a scary situation and one that Maxter's going to punish wholeheartedly. Weapon choice. Oh! That was nearly a ring out. Not only was that almost just a frag by itself, but cha1n had to change his positioning there as he almost fell off. Oh, and this is where you do start to see the weaknesses. Yep. Like, Nyx, she can be good, but we say risky because when this is happening, it is a nightmare. It's so hard to get yourself back up because she is squishy. If she doesn't have Ghost Walk, she's a sitting duck. And someone like Maxter is going to take that all the way to the bank as another frag is secured. Oh no, fresh off the spawn as well.
I was going to say the same thing. This is exactly the problem with Nyx. You succumb to the snowball, and that's what Anarchy brings, the speed. Without that Ghost Walk, nothing he can do. 5 to -1. Oh, it's painful to watch. And once again, Max is doing such a great job to keep the pressure off the spawn, force out that Ghost Walk, and then what does cha1n do? Unless he hits rail after rail after rail, he can't do anything because Max has got these items on lockdown.
Maxter has done a wonderful job of just displaying the Nyx matchup. In this situation, the Ghost Walks, they're almost never being used when cha1n wants to use it. He is using it because he has to. Because it's the only way he'll stop himself from going down. And really, if you're forcing a Nyx to use the Ghost Walk when they don't really want to use it, it's best case scenario because they never have it strategically. It's just a get out of jail free card that in the grand scheme of things, as we can see here, isn't really doing much except for delay the inevitable.
Okay. Well, that was desperate, but he's got himself an item.
Ooh, a little bit of exit damage, but not really enough to write home about just yet. Maxter, these rails have been pretty good, all things considered.
Wow.
I mean,
the thing is,
whole package, I guess, really.
Well, the thing is, Max is not even hitting huge percentages. What he's doing is he's forcing multiple positions to hit these shots. He's just constantly able to run aggressive, fire off 1-2 rails because the Nyx is always on the back foot. And as we said, she's constantly just using.
Oh my lord!
Just using this Ghost Walk defensively. There's nothing for her to do, and she's forced to take hugely risky fights like that to even try and get back into this game.
Now, look, there is still time. There's not a lot of time.
No,
and now there is no time.
No, there isn't. There's no way. There's no way. The Nyx has to take too many risky decisions, and she's just not.
And there's no chance in hell you're getting away with every clean frag, not with that little stack.
She's not that type of champion. Wow.
I think Maxter just played this flawlessly. He couldn't have handled this matchup any better, and the damage on top of that is just the cherry on top, really. It was the aggression and, I would say, just suffocation that Maxter was applying. There's always a fallback. In this case, yeah, I'll take that damage because they're heavy. He can still survive? I mean, how? You know, you're a light champion. You've taken like 4 rails, yet you live.
The thing is, like, yeah, cha1n didn't play great, but this is just what happens if you play a bad matchup with Nyx and you're not executing perfectly. This can happen. So, Maxter genuinely looked pretty angry in this matchup. You know, he's playing like a madman.
And it's the kind of map that you have no choice but to just kind of forget about because, yeah, this is a done deal. You know, there ain't no time left. If it was possible to GG beforehand, I'm pretty sure it would have been done. cha1n just couldn't get the gears spinning. You know, and Maxter just not even letting him have anything. This is very rude Maxter that we are seeing right now. And it's just going to continue. Maybe try and get some highlight videos for the top 10 plays. Yeah, there's another rail. Looking for another one. Shotgun, shotgun. 3 weapons in that. Nice little combo there.
Doesn't even go for the style points. That's how much he just wants to ramp up this scoreline.
I want scoreline, not highlights. It's in. I mean, the mega's there, but it's cha1n nowhere to be seen. Just kind of sitting there firing. That direct would have shut that down if not for the Ghost Walk right there. cha1n can't even finish it at any moment, and that's just down to Maxter. Maxter is just being so overbearing here, and all of these frags, look, they're really sick and impressive, but it's the closing 2-minute sequence, right? cha1n's just kind of going through the final motions here. Maxter's stacked, Maxter has all the weapons, cha1n has very little. Wait a minute, is cha1n going to be able to... Oh, okay. All right.
He got a frag.
Yeah. Oh, and then Maxter. That's what I mean. He's a rude man. Mean Maxter.
Can't even get any airtime for the Canadian. That's unfortunate. This has been brutal.
It was just that throughout the entire map, cha1n was... You have to be assertive, right? You know, when Nyx is working, it's because you are the one that is kind of dictating the pace. Even if you're not in like full control and you're playing from what looks like behind, even at an even scoreline. Nyx is kind of the one that's commanding the map's pace. But from a really early point here, I mean, Maxter just got the pressure going. Got a really good read on where cha1n was going to be, hit the necessary shots to put the pressure up, and then almost every single Ghost Walk from that point was used reactively just to survive, rather than strategically to either trap, set something up. And the second you're not in control of when you're using your Ghost Walks, I mean, yeah, you're the one that's pressing the key, but your hand's been forced, right? That's where Nyx has just completely stopped working. And it just comes down to Maxter laying the pressure on so perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. He was able to force the issue time and time again. That's what I mean. He was not hitting huge percentages. He's hitting a huge amount of damage, but it was just down to the fact he was constantly able to find angles, keep the speed and the pressure up. And on the flip side, cha1n was not doing enough to counter that. And at the same time, when it's not going your way, you almost have to be willing as a Nyx to park yourself in a corner and hide and play ultra turtle mode. But he wasn't even able to do that because Maxter was so effective at forcing the issue time and time again. And before he could blink, he had given away 2 frags because every frag was subsequently converted. So it was a 2-for-1 at that point, and there was no looking back for Maxter.
Pretty even split in the damage department for Maxter. Kind of looking at the Unholy Trinity, almost even damage with all 3 of the Rocket, LG, and Rail. So I think in the combat department, Maxter looked pretty in top shape. I think I was looking for another word there, but there really is no other way. It just looked absolutely perfect.
Pretty good is the answer.
Certainly enough that you can just put it all together to just create that presence and create that pressure of cha1n where he's, as we said, he just wasn't able to do what Nyx has to do to win. And that just in pure entire part comes down to just Maxter and the pressure that was put on there. Now we're going on to our final map here, and it has always come down to, right now, just having the speed available to position, to chase, to lay the pressure on thick. We're kind of getting the exact same possibility again. We're just going on a much larger map. You know, it's going to be speed still, but not at the cost of stack. Maxter's going in with Strog and Pika. So is there going to be a continuation of what we've already seen on these previous 2 maps? Or is cha1n gonna... Is something gonna change here? Because the Doomslayer's gonna have that just very similar to a Nyx, just complete control of that top level, right? Since Doomslayer entered this game, it was always a safe pick on Blood Covenant. Things are a bit different now. You know, we do see the use of the mobility berserk. You know, now the punches allows Doom to be rather significantly weird when he's trying to run away. Certainly didn't exist back then. But is what Doomslayer brings here going to be enough to stop the pace that Maxter's going to force on you?
It's definitely a lot more even, purely for the fact that cha1n now has a decent starting stack, can build himself a decent overall stack. He's not a light. And just the map geometry obviously lend itself to slowing the pace down a lot more effectively than we saw on Awoken. So it would definitely not be a whitewash as we saw in the previous map, but I would still expect from what we've seen today that Maxter's going to walk away with a victory this one. It's definitely going to be much, much closer. cha1n can force himself into the map as we saw on map 1, but still, I just think Maxter's bringing too much today.
That first map definitely felt like I don't want to use the term de-rusting because I know these players are like they play and practice all the time, but there was an element of that first map where it was like, okay, we're awake now and we're ready to jump in. And the map 2 was much more of just an honest Maxter performance where everything was just kind of working, the shots were hitting, the decision making was fantastic. Like all the stuff that you normally associate with Maxter was in full swing, and I don't see that randomly slowing down here. It comes down to cha1n being able to stop the momentum. Because Maxter is such a momentum-based player, and yeah, the champion picks reflect that, but it's just the way he plays. You know, the second that ball's rolling,
and that was what was really interesting in the previous map. In that the damage differential was not, it was big, but again, the aim that cha1n was putting out was fine. It was just the way in which Maxter was hitting all of the clutch shots, and able to play the tempo he wanted to play and take the map away from cha1n. So cha1n has to find a way to at least consolidate one item, take that high ground, and then play the rail game he wants to play.
It looks like we're checking things out from Maxter's point of view first. cha1n did use the Berserk there just to quickly get in and out, taking that first LG, so he's in a much safer position. prevent any kind of ambush, I suppose. And looks like we're going to have an even split between these two items. Now, cha1n, the perfect combination of weapons is set. LG to open up the damage. The rail's going to be there to shut down if Maxter tries to escape. But I think in terms of how ready you can be, cha1n, it doesn't get more so. What on earth? The rockets didn't hit anything.
What were those rockets from cha1n?
I don't know what that was, but falling down and hitting that stuff as well, that's... I'm trying to remember the last time I saw that kind of fight, to be honest.
Yeah, I was watching that from cha1n's POV, and he just misplaced every rocket. It was bizarre, and now he's 1-0 down and lost out on the major items of the map, so...
What? Were you watching that through cha1n's point of view as well?
No, Maxter's.
Oh, that one hurt. I felt that. I felt that in my bones.
Yikes.
I think we've gone back to slightly weird territories. However, I'm here for it, and I'm loving it. Maxter has really given himself one hell of a head start here. The potential damage around the corner. Doesn't quite hit it. cha1n, nicely stacked, but rockets have been so prominent in this map so far, and cha1n, almost a disgusting rocket to rail combo. And Maxter, weak, forced to retreat down here, but
Maxter's taking no prisoners in maps 2 and 3. He's just going full throttle. Okay, there we go. Nice read by cha1n, though.
nothing you can do there. Nothing you're doing in that situation.
Nice shot, he says. I don't know if that's a bit of sarcasm or not.
It's hard to tell. I mean, like, yeah, that's like one of the... You could basically set up a tutorial mode and put that rocket there, so your opponent is going to use the jump pad. Fire here at this time to hit them.
This is what cha1n wants. He wants to play this slower tempo, more control, play the angles. Oh, big rocket coming out.
Oh, you want to hit me with a 75 damage kamikaze? Eat this direct.
Oh, really
that machine gun hurts. That hurts so much. Maxter didn't even need the rail in that situation. Speaking of which, we are going to rocket jump just to finally collect one. So the rail is now going to be a threat. But in the meantime, cha1n has bulked himself right up in the stack department.
This is what we wanted to see from cha1n, is just play that high ground. Use the Doom skill set to play the high ground. Fortunately, though, cha1n isn't connecting with as many rails as he would want to, so that's limiting his aggression so far, but that's a good start.
Rocket placement from Maxter has been pretty on point in this map so far. There have been some uncomfortable instances, and actually I think the trade of the two, even near the bridge, near Heavy, you know, we saw that direct hit of the Pika, which was pretty much immediately answered back with a direct hit of a rocket just to throw things off. You know, you look at the opening damage, you think it's time to make a fight happen, and both of these players are just messing things up for each other. You know, they're hitting the damage they need. cha1n, scary position now.
So low. He's just so low, and Maxter getting slight upper hand in terms of these mid-range engagements. He knows where his opponent is, though. He just wants to finish it off. cha1n's scuttled away for now. Only a matter of time, surely.
Wait a minute. That rocket from cha1n did enough damage to force Maxter to retreat, because Maxter became railable. The moment that rocket hit its mark, Maxter was railable, and he did not want to stick around and find out what would happen. In doing so, cha1n has been able to keep himself alive. The question is, how long, though? Because both... Actually, what I was just saying, that you feel like it's a good opportunity to push in, and then both of them are finding ways to just mess with each other. Hitting that last little shot that just makes you change your mind at the last minute. And wait a second here. That was really good machine gun placement from Maxter, who has got out of that situation with basically no damage taken. Rail fights, they continue for another time. I feel like for a good 2 minutes, Maxter has just been forced on this lower level. cha1n refuses to give up control of this high ground. And that is often where a player is going to be at their most dangerous.
Definitely. Problem is he's just not connecting with his rails again.
5 minutes.
Just sub 30% at the moment, which is just not good enough. And Maxter won himself high ground, got himself a little bit of a split on the major items, so his next engagement's pretty big. If there's any unreturned damage here, Maxter's going to come pushing on 3, and there you go. He's got the information he wanted with the Pika. Barreling through that doorway. cha1n forced to retreat again. And he's stuck to this low ground. Does Maxter know the timing of the heavy? That's the question. And have a good inkling. And he knows the exact timing. cha1n uses that opportunity to steal away this Mega and reposition. He's unable, at the moment, to connect with any significant damage.
Oh, I loved that double jump from cha1n. Double jump used as he descended down there.
Wow.
Just to mess up the timing of which he's going to land, and Maxter had no idea where to aim. Not that it really mattered in the end, as Maxter did secure a frag regardless, but just little tricks like that, they can be a real difference in some of these fights. Not that it was in that situation, but still. Mega's going to be the next goal, but it's a scary one for cha1n to go for. Not having the stack, and that rail combined with that pickup, that's going to be the green light for Maxter to make something happen here. He's been patient, he's been slow, and he's been very respectful. That is going to change now because it's time. And he got the spawn!
What?
Oh, God!
No, Maxter, you dirty boy.
That was highlight bait. He was looking for it.
Oh, he's feeling himself.
Uh-oh. Get out of there, cha1n. Maxter on the warpath now. No way. Oh, doesn't get the rocket, and actually that missed shot is going to allow cha1n to not only pick up that Mega, but push forward as well. Disgusting placement from Maxter. Surprise attack. cha1n not going to be able to cover every single angle in that situation, but that was an opportunity for cha1n to maybe make something happen, and Maxter has just done so much damage. A scary time. Damn, shades of when this map began. We're fighting in the middle point. The rocket launcher's coming out.
Is he going to go up? No, he's got the Pika though. Oh, just in time from cha1n, and he has to. Oh, nearly gets the exit rail.
Maxter had considered going up that jump pad, but it would have taken too long. cha1n would have been able to recover from that rail shot by the time that Maxter had got on up there, and Maxter probably going to be toast if he committed, so it's a good thing he was playing careful. 95 damage! Ugh.
Yeah, that was a big frag for Maxter to get out alive. He doesn't this time, but he's done huge amounts of damage with that tri-bolt. He knows exactly how much damage he's done. He gets to spawn over by the Mega though, so no weapons or position for the follow-up. cha1n's definitely still in this, 4-2. Taking a lot of damage once again.
Opted to try and get out as fast as possible, but being stuck in Berserk means you're not going to have any return damage, so the divide and stack was going to be rather significant. cha1n was able to keep himself alive. The question is how long. Maxter has still really only just spawned, so there's not a lot of weapons here. Only 3 rockets to his name. Yeah, there's a tri-bolt and a heavy machine gun, but that is it, as he now drops down to pick up an LG. And a super shotgun to boot. All right, we're able to fight a little bit. Uses the jump pad. Of course, cha1n's going to hear that, immediately turn around. But
it's a bit of wasting time here from Maxter. He hasn't got the right weaponry. Without the rail, he can't really challenge cha1n, so he's trying to waste time, goad him into a close combat fight. Double back though, cha1n's there, and there's the frag. 4-3, a minute and a half to go. All the stack in the world. Maxter gets the spawn, but once again, he's got no weapons. This is scary times for Maxter as he's trying to find his opponent. cha1n's defending their LG. Will Maxter fall from it as they both try to bait each other out?
It's going to be a bold decision though, because cha1n, I mean, he knows he hasn't got a lot of time, so he's dedicating quite a lot of the clock to this.
He's caught him. Maxter falls for it. Oh no, and there's the frag to tie it up. 1 minute to go, Ketchup. Maxter once again gets a negative spawn. Can he get out alive? cha1n's going to have to chase this. He knows how little his opponent has got, but he's afraid of the super shotgun, so he doesn't want to come barreling through. Instead, he's happy with the stalemate. He's happy with his control.
This is one hell of an opportunity for cha1n. Being able to secure at least one map here. I mean, as we said before...
What? Oh, he fell down!
Alright, all pressure's on Maxter. Maxter needs to get a frag here just to tie things up, but cha1n... No, we said earlier... No!
How?
The first rocket misses!
How?
And now Maxter evens it up. We're going to go into sudden death. cha1n, no! That first rocket just didn't hit anything, mate. What a shame. This is a scary moment. The rail does hit its mark, but you're still taking damage. Is cha1n going to maybe even pop this berserk to try and escape? Nope. Rail 2.
Railable, he's railable. Oh my gosh, cha1n falls away. Doesn't know exactly how railable his opponent is. Maxter just needs a rail. Doesn't want a rail. Oh, good read by cha1n. No, lovely damage coming out. Maxter should have really taken the opportunity to get himself a rail instead. He wants to do this on hard mode.
Oh, that flick! cha1n finds an angle out of seemingly nowhere, and he fakes it.
They both fake it.
Yeah, he fakes out the double jump there. Makes the sound, but no one's home. It looks like neither player.
Oh, there it is!
Never mind! cha1n finds at least a bonus. Consolation prize. It's better than nothing, and it was played rather flawlessly, I think, because we used that word earlier. I think disruptive and being able to really put a spanner in the works. That's kind of what the Doomslayer, especially in those final few minutes, was all about. Whether it did come down to just easy navigation or whatever else, I think it was just more about the player himself of cha1n being able to get those perfect reads. Like, how many times did he read Maxter in the closing moments there? Like 3 or 4 times?
I think you said it. It's frustrating for his opponents. He just burrows in, he grinds in and frustrates you, and you can't do what you want to do against cha1n. And I do feel that Maxter actually threw this away a little bit, but at the same time, you have to credit cha1n for being able to just grind that result out. And then when the pressure mattered towards the end, you're right, he just kept reading Maxter, and that bit of pressure towards the end when he stood down in LG for a good 20 seconds or so when he's chasing the game, again, just the map awareness, the self-awareness, and the mentality to just take a breath and pause was phenomenal. And for the large parts of the opening start of that game, he was hitting 20% rail, but it began to ramp up as he felt himself and he got confident, and he was able to take control of the positions he wanted to take control of. He's such a positional player. He relies so heavily on taking up positions he knows and trusts with the angles he knows. When he's on the back foot, he really struggles mechanically. But when he can insert himself into the game, as you said, it becomes incredibly difficult to break him down.
It was a good showing overall, especially with just the shape that Maxter was eventually in, especially on Awoken. Yeah, deep embrace. I think it took a while for both players to really get started. Awoken was just kind of a, hey, it happens situation. cha1n tried to apply the way that he likes to play Quake with the Nyx, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and it's as simple as that, because if Nyx gets behind, she's very easy to keep behind. So Blood Covenant, that final showing, and a perfect demonstration of why you can't really count cha1n out. I think we'd all love to see a bit more consistency in the online weeklies here for cha1n. But yeah, bringing this level of, I think, just confidence in your own ability to play in a way that is not very common, that, I think, is why he can be such a hit in the LAN space, because that's where it matters the most, right? And that's where it could potentially frustrate the most as well, because there's the most on the line. Anyway, that is going to be our latest series. We're going to be setting up for our next one in just a few minutes' time. Thank you so much for joining us. Get involved in social media, all that good stuff. And we'll see you in about 5 minutes for more Quake.